Peggy Farren. Welcome to the Understand Photography Show, where we talk about travel, nature, and fine art photography. Hey, today we're going to talk again to Thomas Mitchell, who we interviewed him on episode number 158 in September 2019 about finding his niche. So we said, hey, we're going to do a follow-up, and we did today. So we had a great talk. However, we didn't really talk that long. We talked for maybe 10 minutes about that, and then we went into what are we going to do now as artists, since all this COVID thing has changed the way that we sell our art. And then I was like, man, I should have spent more time on this, but it's a really good show, so stay tuned. Right now is the best time to get your photography skills up to snuff. You know, there are so many people who are missing out on just the basic foundation in photography, and that's what our main class, the 4 weeks to proficiency in photography, is all about. Now remember, at Understand Photography, our motto is we simplify the technical. So if you're like me and not a technical person, in fact, I probably said this if you've listened to the show before, I was afraid to start teaching because I didn't think I was smart enough, because I do not pick up on the technical things very easily. But I know that I can. It's just hard for me and I don't like it. So it took me a long time to learn photography. And then when I understood it, I was kind of mad because it was kind of easy. I took classes for a long time. And for some reason, people were saying, oh, start an aperture priority. And so I was doing that, but I was never fully understanding what was going on. So with the 4 weeks to proficiency in photography, I start you right out in learning to shoot in the manual mode. And there are really only 3 components plus your metering. So 4 things you need to learn. We teach you that in the first class, and then every class builds from there. It's an interactive class, so it's not like, here, just go watch a video and I'll never see you again. It is a recorded class, it's a video, but you have homework you're supposed to turn into me so that I can critique it and say, oh, great job, or, well, you know, let me just tell you, I think you're a lot of time people might have trouble focusing, or whatever, you know, whatever the issue is. So you have a lot of interaction, and we do have a private, secret Facebook group so that you can interact with the other students as well. 4 weeks to proficiency in photography. So check that out if you go to our website at understandphotography.com, and then click on, oh gosh, I forgot I changed my website recently. I forgot what to click on. I think it's pretty obvious though. Also, while you're on our website, sign up for our mailing list. All you have to do is click here for freebies. And then check out, we're starting to put our tours back on. We're doing a lot of day tours and day, or, you know, not day, they could be night, whatever, but 1 day or 3-hour tours, things like that. We're starting back up. Things are starting to come back to life. And I don't have our long-term, I have 1 long-term trip for the Apalachicola. That's a 4-night or 5 nights in October 14th. And I will put our Everglades trips on there soon. Those will be in January and February of 2021. Understandphotography.com. So Thomas Mitchell is mostly a landscape photographer based in Utah. And the last time he was on the show, I told you, we talked about finding his niche, and I just listened to that show again today. It was a really good show. This guy is really good. So today I just got so excited because he's got a real marketing mind. So because of all this COVID thing, all of the art shows got canceled. So Tom went right into marketing mode, and he has been selling his work even during this downtime. So welcome, Tom.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Peggy.
Welcome back, I should say.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell our audience a little bit about Tom Mitchell.
So I got into photography over 30 years ago, and I've pretty much been through the ringer all the way around. I had hair when I started, and I no longer do. So I've done everything from camera repair to photo finishing, portrait work, and my true love's always been nature and landscape photography, so that's where I've settled in at.
Now, you've been selling your work for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
Like 5 years,
Yeah,
1 year?
I started actively trying to sell my work 5 years ago.
Oh, I hit it on
So
the nose.
yeah,
Well, you seem to
this
be
this kind of work, the nature landscape
right,
kind of
because you
stuff.
did
So
portraits and advertising and stuff
y-
like that. Like, I mean,
yeah,
that's, me too. I started as a wedding photographer and did a lot
been
of
there, done
that.
that.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of us did, I think. I
Yeah,
still do weddings, just not big weddings anymore.
yeah,
But I like it. I like it all. That's the problem we always have, and that was what our last show
exactly.
was, is how do you narrow down your niche? So what I want to do in this show is talk about that a little bit, but because we are recording this in August of 2020, and we're
Yeah,
5 months into the COVID crisis, so I also want to talk about what are we going to do as artists? Because you've
yeah,
been a artist 5 years now. So let's talk about that. But first, we're going to talk about the niche because we put you on the hot seat last time. And I'm going to give a little overview to our audience about what we talked about, because it was all about Tom finding his niche. Because, like most photographers, he loves to take pictures of everything. And
yep,
so he was taking pictures of everything. So we talked a lot. And let me just tell you, it was episode 158. September 20th, 2019. So if you want to go on understandphotography.com, that's where you'll find that episode. It's really good. I listened to it actually this morning and I was like, this is really good stuff. We talked about all kinds of stuff, not just about Tom. So we talked about different ways to find your niche. It could be processing. It could be a theme. We talked about some of the themes Tom did with horses with the slow shutter speed. We talked about doing mountain top, like the mountain range. I think he said there were
yeah,
8 or 9 mountains in that range. We talked about doing the mountains in different seasons. We talked about all kinds of different ideas. And then we just kind of brainstormed some other ideas for other photographers. So it's a really good show. You got to go watch it. So I'm just going to stop there because you need to listen or watch that show to get it in detail. But let's just put Tom on the hot seat again and find out what he's done in the last, well, what has it been? It's been almost a year. We were supposed to
yeah,
follow up in 6 months, but we just, things changed.
yeah.
So did you settle on a look?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I got looking at stuff I've done all the way back into my film days, and a bunch of stuff I did last fall, which the falls here in Utah are just spectacular most years. And it's funny because my generalized theme is been mountains and trees, with a lot more trees. I mean, we talked about me doing, specifically some of these local mountain peaks, which a lot of people like, and I've been doing that. There's one specific mountain here that is really popular. Everybody likes to hike to the top of it. Everybody likes pictures of it, and I've been getting it from many different angles. But it's funny when I really got thinking about what I've done, and it's been mostly trees. I mean, or trees are a main component in the photograph that I take. Everything from one thing, if you really look at the body of my work, you'll notice that I have a lot of stark trees against the sky, just totally stark without any leaves on it. Sometimes it's because they're dead. Sometimes it's because it's in early spring or late fall. But that's kind of like, I don't know. I guess you kind of say my little signature shot is some stark trees in the picture. So. Um,
Okay. Well, I saw you have some like in winter too, which would kind of
yeah,
be the same. That's stark trees. And
yeah.
I know I
I've
like,
been,
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I've been doing quite a bit of stuff where I'm just taking specific trees and isolating them in various conditions. I did a whole series last year in November, Thanksgiving weekend. We were at our family cabin up in the mountains and it snowed. It dumped like 18 inches of snow. We all had to pull our vehicles out down and get them back down to the parking lot so we didn't have to try to drive out in it. And I had a heyday just going out and walking in the snowstorm and photographing these aspen trees that were just covered in snow. So
Wow.
it was
Oh,
really fun.
Well, I like that. I think that's a cool niche. You ready for me to pick on you for a minute, though?
Please. I really love, I don't get enough, I feel like I don't get enough feedback about my work. And it kind of drives me nuts. I want to know, what do you like? What don't you like?
Well, I love you are an amazing photographer.
Thanks.
But I would not, by looking at your website, I would not guess that trees were your niche.
I've tried to change that on my home screen on the slideshow. I have tried to just make that slideshow be specifically kind of, like trees or images with trees in them, not just, but it's still kind of hard to, my website's fairly new. I revamped it completely, talking about COVID. When COVID, I was thinking about doing it, and then when COVID broke out and all the art shows started getting canceled, I'm like, I got to step up my game and try to get more of the web presence out there. And so I saw this guy that everybody else was using, or not everybody, but some other people were using, and really there were things about his site I wasn't that keen on, but the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. I'll give him a plug. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, his name is Jack Brower, and it is oh my heck, my mind just went blank. Let me look really quick.
Yeah, and I'll put a link in the show notes on understandphotography.com.
Yeah, it's widerangegalleries.com. He's a photographer himself out of Colorado. Really good. Mostly does mountains. That's his thing, is mountains. And so I contacted him and started working with him, and I really just like the whole overall process was really nice. He's kind of spendy. It's not like doing a Smug Mug, Fine Art America or anything like that. It's more of a high-end gallery, website. It's really SEO, which is search engine optimization friendly.
And right now, that's really important.
Exactly, and that's part of the reason I went with that. I had a WordPress website that I had built, and it just really was top heavy with trying to get image files on it. Was really a long, drawn out process. The whole thing was just too tedious. And this new website is a lot better. I'm still trying to tweak, like you said, trying to tweak some stuff to make it show that my niche is trees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you got to work on that, because the website is pretty. I've spent some time on it today, and it's a very nice website. Your work is so good, but it doesn't. I don't feel like I can tell what your niche is by your website at all. There's just stuff on it,
It's so hard to do because I still photograph a lot of other stuff. We went to California for my daughter's wedding in June and went out there a week early to the Monterey Bay area so that I could just go photograph. I used to live out there. That's where I actually fell in love with photography and started my career, was out there in Monterey 30 plus years ago. It was like 1987. And so we spent a week out there photographing Big Sur. Mostly that's where we spent most of the time, was down in Big Sur. So some of that stuff, everything from waves, washing up on the shore, to Milky Way shots over Big Sur. I'm kind of all over the place.
Well, you are, and you're so creative, and you've got like slow shutter speed stuff, and not slow shutter. You have so much stuff, and it's all good, but it's got to be put together in a different way, I think, on your website.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do that on my website. I try to break it into galleries, but even that sometimes isn't enough.
What happens with most photographers is they have too many galleries.
Yeah.
You look at some of the successful ones, they don't have that much stuff on their website. They'll have like, I always use Clyde Butcher. He's our big guy in Florida. I use him as an example all the time, and he's blogging a lot with his pictures. So he's putting them on his blog.
Yeah.
but they're not in his galleries. You know, he has, I don't know, he's got, I think 9 galleries on his website. I haven't looked at it in a long time, but the last time I did, he had about, that was it. And, you know, all of them had that similar black and white look that he is famous for.
Yeah.
But his were just like different places.
Yeah.
So yours are all different things though. So maybe you could categorize them instead of places, things like trees. And I know you have one that said abstract. That was good.
Yeah.
And we had talked last time about horses, because you've got quite a few horses too, right?
Some, yeah.
That
There's
could
quite
be
a few
under a
wild
category
horses.
of animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've got a category of animals.
Oh, you do?
That's on there. Which I do, you know, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a wildlife photographer, but I love wildlife and nature. So whenever I can, I'm out looking for wildlife, which is hit or miss. So,
I know. I had a guy on the show, David Swindler. I couldn't remember
I know.
from that. Do you know
I
him?
know who David is. I don't know him personally, but I know who he is. I'm a big fan of David.
He's good,
Yeah.
but the theme was wildlife with a landscape focus, and I thought that's more my style probably. I'm more of a landscape photographer, but I love wildlife too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't want to sit around and wait for them.
I watched that episode and I love that concept of having an animal in the landscape.
Yeah.
Which, you know, instead of just a nice close-up, and I've done quite a bit of that over the years, towards this nice scene, but oh wait, there's a deer in there, you know. In fact, I did one recently, I haven't done anything with that. I got when I work on my stuff, I blow it up to 100% on my screen to look through it in detail to really make sure every little piece is perfect. And with my new camera, that's 60 by 90 inches at 100%. I'm looking through there, and I knew this great blue heron had been in the area because I'd spooked him up the day before. And I'm zoomed in at 100% going through, and I'm like, oh my heck, there's the heron sitting right there, and there's a deer over there. I never even knew the deer was in the area. And so, I mean, and you can, once I realized they're there, you could see, like, you'd be able to see them at like even a 16 by 24 size print, which is kind of cool. It's like, you know, just these little what do they call those? Easter eggs, these little things you find in pictures that you're like, oh, that's
actually
cool.
The same thing exact almost happened to me, because we were in Cuba and we were walking in the countryside, and I'm the only one who carried a big heavy lens, with not super big. It was 70 to 300. Anyway, everybody was teasing me about carrying that heavier lens. Well, then I saw this dog sitting on the porch, and I, you know, got some cool shots of him. And then everybody else, he was bored by the time we got close enough for anybody else to get a shot. So I got this really cool shot. Same thing when I went to go print it. There's a little kitten sitting at his feet. It was so cute. Yeah. I didn't even see the kitten until I was like, oh, that's a good picture of the dog. I love that picture too. I got that one hanging on my wall. All right, so finding the niche is one thing. So we're saying, okay, so in fact, what you did is exactly how we start our Selling Your Photography as Art class. We start with bring a bunch of your pictures that you really like, and then we start looking for a look or a theme or something. Yeah. So that's exactly what you did. And you found that you kind of do have a theme of trees.
Yeah.
And now it's like, what are you going to do with it to make it the Tom Mitchell look? Now, you know, we did talk about different processing, different whatever, you know, like Clyde Butcher is always black and white. But, you know, and you were with the lone tree is probably a good, but that to me should be most of your website, and the other galleries just kind of, you know, other work by Tom or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, last time we talked about doing the different art shows, that you did a themed art show that was like Scottish or something. So your Scottish stuff was selling, which is great. But now it's harder to do that right now, which I'm going to segue right into our next topic. So what are we going to do now that, you know, there's really no art shows? Do you have a plan?
I got accepted to what I consider the biggest one in Utah this year, and then they canceled it. And it's not technically an art show, but it's a big a town. It was established by Swiss people, and they have a Swiss Days. And this has turned in. My mother-in-law is actually from Switzerland. My wife is a quarter Swiss, you know, and we used to go to it, and you could park in town. Now over 100,000 people up, and you have to park out in these fields, and they bus you in like 3 miles into town, and literally 100,000 plus people show up. They had to cancel it this year, and that, I mean, that's a big one that I would, was that relying on, and so that was why part of the reason I decided to step up my game and revamp my website, get more of a web presence out there. Trying to get more people to find out who I am, because going to a show with that 100,000 people show up to, you're going to get a pretty good, but they're all locals, so you're going to get a pretty good amount of people seeing your work that are local. And at that specific show, my best-selling images are of one local mountain that everybody loves, that one I mentioned. It's Mount Timpanogos in Utah, and that sells like pancakes at that show. But I'm trying to, but as photographers, we need a much bigger audience too. We're now a world economy. I mean, you have Instagram followers from all over the world. If you work Instagram or Facebook at all, you've got, social media people that liking your work from all over. So I decided that was, really the route I needed to go more. And I've been pushing it and, redoing my website, running some ads, Google ads and Facebook ads, which has helped, I mean, I saw you liked it on my Facebook page. I hung a 4x6 footprint in somebody's house yesterday,
And you
yeah, I'm
sold
getting
that
a little,
how?
they found me off of the internet. They just did, she said she did a search for Utah photographers, and because I've been pushing myself that way, I came up more higher up on the search engine, and she found my website and started digging through it and found this picture that she really liked, which was right down. It's in an area up in the mountains here where people camp. There's these improved campgrounds, high mountain area, 10,000 feet up in the elevation. You would have to climatize to that, being from sea level. And she found this picture that I've got that is right by where they always camp, and she just loved it. And so and that was from pushing myself out there on the internet.
Okay,
I've got quite a bit of stuff like that.
so let's talk about keywords for a minute, okay? Because
Uh-huh.
how did you decide which keywords would be best for you? Like Utah photographer is what she searched under, which number one, let me
Mm-hmm.
just commend you, because anytime somebody contacts you, you should ask them, how did you find me?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So many people don't do that. And it's like, yeah, always, always, always know how they found you, because then you know to do more of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So she was just searching on Utah photographers. And actually, let me just expand on that for a little bit, because that is the greatest keyword, because like you said, as you said, in this
Yeah.
local show, the local stuff sells. Here, it's the same thing. In fact, one of my strategies, there's a very high-end consignment store, and for some reason, everybody has time to redecorate their homes. And, people are pretty wealthy down here. So
Yep.
I'm going to put my local stuff in there. I think I
Yeah.
can sell it for my regular prices, even though it's a consignment shop. It's not, you pay, it's like to get a booth, it's like $450 a month, and then they take 15%.
Yeah.
So you have to decorate it, but they do everything else. Then you just leave. You don't
Yeah.
have to sit there. They do everything
Yeah.
else.
I've put my stuff in a couple shops like that, actually, here and there.
But what I learned is the only thing that sells in that stuff is the local art.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, it's not, like I've got a lot of Cuban nobody, I need to go to Miami if I want to sell the Cuban art, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And, but what if I do want to sell the Cuban art? I have a lot of it because I had, you know, I was chosen to be one of the artists for the artist studio tour last year. So I had to decorate my whole house. Well, I just got back from my 4th trip to Cuba. So I was like, I'm going to have a Cuba theme because it was easiest, you know? And plus I already had enough printed because, you know, that's really expensive to print all your stuff off. So I hardly sold any of the Cuba stuff. So I just gave myself a great idea, but just say, you know, Cuba photography and target the area of Miami.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
should be doing.
Yeah. Exactly. I found that generally speaking, stuff sells better in a local area. Like Utah is a huge ski resort area, and Park City area. Actually, where I hung this print yesterday, these people bought a condo, a really nice, like 5-suite. Each suite has its own bathroom condo to rent out for the ski season for people that come in, and but the people come to Utah to ski, and then they hit that Park City area and hit those galleries, and the stuff that sells is always the local stuff.
Yeah.
They want to take home a memory of their ski trip, a memory of what they saw, you know.
But this might be a good idea for you who has so much different work on your site. Maybe you could categorize it geographically and have each page with all those keywords in there. You know, Utah photographer is one of them, but you know, trees of Utah, or I don't know. I'm searching here, but you know, just if you have each page has its own keywords, it's a really good idea, I guess, from SEO as well.
It is, and I've done that on putting in my keywords on this new website. It's really, like I said, SEO friendly that way. So putting in the keywords of trees, you know, nature, forests. So when people search for, you know, they're looking for pictures of trees, they do that, then it will pick up in the search engine, you know, what the keywords they've put in, that I've put in, and that they're looking for. So yeah, I mean.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Just really, really have to be careful with your keywords. And for people who, you know, don't do their own websites and that kind of stuff, you know, I always try to have a website that I can update myself. I think that's a really important part of being a business owner in general.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep up, you know?
Yeah.
And I do use WordPress. I use the Divi theme, and I like it. I mean, I find it easy to use, but it's well, it wasn't that easy. I actually, since the COVID thing, I had to learn how to do it because it hasn't been that stuff for me, you know?
Yes, and with my old WordPress site, I became quite capable and fluent even at oh my heck, my mind just went blank. The script that WordPress uses, HTML.
Oh,
you know?
I don't know how to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, well, there were just certain things that I was like having to, the theme I was using wouldn't work right, and so I'd have to go into the code and figure it out.
Oh my God, I don't.
And I'm
not that
and
far.
all the while I'm going, I just want to be an artist. I don't want to be a programmer. I don't want to be a web developer. I just want to be an artist.
Me too. Me too. I miss Heather.
But the reality of it is, we have to, as a business owner, trying to make your way in the world, as an artist, you've got to have a lot of different hats. Maybe that's why I went bald.
Yeah. So do you think that the future is in selling our art via the internet completely?
I'm really pessimistic, and I think that, I mean, there are some shows opening back up. I know Colorado's got some stuff opening back up. There's some smaller things here in Utah that have opened back up. I think that things might come back around in another year or so, but it's going to be slow. And, you know, and that year or so I've got friends who rely on the art show circuit, traveling around doing 18, 20 shows a year for their sole source of income, and it's killed them. I mean, it's just completely killed them. So I think it'll come back. I'm a pessimist though. So, I mean, I think that, but it's going to be a little bit of a different world because people are now very much aware of, you know, going in big groups to places and stuff. So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's gonna, you know, I think it's a real, you know, what's the right word? You know, good thing as far as it's going to be easier to sell our stuff online, but there's nothing like seeing, you know, I have this picture hanging in my dining room, and as soon as somebody, you know, it's big, like this one, it's a big 40 by 60, and people are like, oh, I have to have that picture, you know?
Exactly. Seeing it on the website is totally different. Let me tell you what I did with this lady that contacted me about wanting to buy some prints, and that was just their first purchase. They're going to buy some other stuff for different rooms. We walked through their condo yesterday, looking at walls and seeing what would work best here, what would work best there. So when she contacted me, she asked me if there was if I had a gallery or even a studio, she could come see my work. Like most people, I just do it out of my house. I mean, having a gallery is a huge expense. And so I just brainstormed for a few minutes and thought, you know what, there's a lot of places out there vacant right now. And there's a lot of places that rent meeting rooms for business meetings. So I got online and I started looking at some here in Utah, a couple national chains I talked to, and they just have meeting rooms with conference tables in them, which wouldn't work. So I found one place that has that, and business meetings with conference tables in them. But she said, why don't you come over? It's a local place, locally owned. Why don't you come over and see what we've got? So I went over there. It's a 20-minute drive from my house, and they had an office suite that is vacant. It was their actual office, their construction architectural firm, and it was their office, and they outgrew it and they moved upstairs. And it's sitting there. It was sitting there vacant, and it was this perfect space that I could set up my art show walls in and everything with my own lighting. And I worked out a deal with them, and I did a one-day pop-up art gallery show.
Oh, what a great idea!
Worked out really good. I ran some local ads on Facebook for it. Just got it out there on social media, and then I put this together really fast so I could invite that lady and her husband to come to it, because it was, I mean, they live in that in that town that's like 20 minutes from me, and it's halfway between the big two metropolitan areas of Utah. So, which isn't, I mean, it's like you're talking 50 miles, in either direction from where I was. And I had a really good turnout, and people were able to see, because she wanted to see my work, in person. Like you said, nothing is better than seeing a huge 40 by 60 print in person and going, holy cow, that's gorgeous. And you've got the proper lighting on it. I have overhead track lights, like most artists do that do art shows. And I had all that set up in there. And I told them, look, when I leave, you won't even know I was there. And they were very happy with it, and
all right, let's explore. This is such a great idea. I want to explore a little more. Okay, so how did you find them in the first place?
I just Googled, I just did search for local, business meeting places, and, where you can do offices where they'll let you come in, you'll have a business meeting there. You need a spot to and there's quite a few of them out there, actually.
But this was just a company that had a vacant office.
Yes. So they have the lower half of that building is offices that they are meeting rooms that they rent. They've set up in their meeting rooms that they rent. So say somebody wants to meet at they want to have a meeting with some other people, and they need a place to just go to sit at a conference table and meet in person. That's what these people do. But they weren't willing to pull a conference table out, because they're huge, big conference tables, and I needed a couple hundred square feet, and those are like maybe 10 by 10 feet, you know, with the conference table in there. So, but they had this vacant spot in there that was their old office. And they said, as long as, and they've got it up for rent actually, but in this economy, they said, as long as it's vacant, I can come use it as often as I want. So I'm going to do it again in October, again in November and December, the first Saturday of each one of those 3 months, you know,
That is
just to get people.
That's just brilliant.
And because it's sitting there vacant, they worked out a screaming deal with me that it didn't cost me that much. You know, it was very minimal. To do an art show, to go set up at an art show, you're looking at a good art show, you're looking at $600 to $1,000 for a 10 by 10 spot without a corner.
Right.
You know, and if you get a corner, it's a couple $100 more. And I was able to set up, let me think, four 38-inch panels on one wall. So that was 12 feet. I basically had 2-foot walls and then two 10-foot walls that I was able to set up in my art on. And it was just this nice, they had a nice couch in there, some nice area to sit. It was just like walking into a gallery for people, you know.
That's so cool. All right, I'm going to explore this a little bit more. So you already had the panels from your art shows.
Yes, I just used
my. I've got up their walls.
Right, I've got Pro Panels, the Pro Panel brand, and their Pro Panel light bars, and then the stuff that the track lights they sell, which you can actually buy at Home Depot, the exact same track lights. You know, so you set it all up, and I did a blog post. I'm doing a lot of video blog posts on my website now, and I did a blog post of it with a video of it inside and some pictures and stuff. So I'm just using my art show setup to do it inside. I mean, it was 100 degrees here, hot summer day, and it was air conditioned. People could come in and relax. I had drinks. I had some snacks.
Did you have like alcoholic drinks or just like?
No, I just had some pop and some water, bottles of water and
pop?
And soda, pop soda,
I'm from Michigan. We say pop. I forgot.
Yeah.
I've been in Florida too long.
Yeah, what do you say? What do you say in Florida? Soda?
Soda.
Yeah.
Or Coke. Everybody calls everything
Coke. Yeah. Yeah, just everything's Coke. I want a Coke. Well,
Yeah, but a Sprite Coke.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and I had some snacks. That they actually, this thing, it has a receptionist desk that worked out really good to set stuff on. For that, I put out a display table. I have puzzles of my work. Put out a small display table, a 2x4-foot table with puzzles. I sold a bunch of puzzles. One of the things, you always need to have some stuff that's in a lower price range that people can just walk out with. I sold a bunch of $35 to $80 framed prints that were ready to just walk, and then puzzles, so, and some big stuff. So, because people show up, they just showed up, I'll just come check this out, and if they just show up and they're not looking at spending a bunch of money, but they find something they like. So have your matted stuff, have some framed stuff, small framed stuff, and yeah.
So basically you're just using your regular art show strategies. You're getting the mailing list, you're updating. But let's talk about, how did you get them there in the first place?
Like I said, I put it out there on social.
Wait. Okay, so it was on a Saturday from what time to what time?
It was, I only did it for 3 hours because, it took us about 4 hours to set up and 2 hours to tear down. I had the place for the day. They let me rent it for the whole day at a song and a dance because it was vacant. They weren't using it, and so I did it for 3 hours from 5 to 8 p.m.
Okay. All right. Now let's go back up. How'd you get the people there?
So then I put out there on social media, and I ran a local Facebook ad just saying I'm having a one-day pop-up gallery in Draper, Utah, and from 5 to 8 p.m. come by and see my work in person. Basically something.
So in this Facebook ad, who did you target? Like when you did a custom audience
Yeah, yeah, I did a target audience of people 30 and over.
in your area?
Yeah, and I did it within a 50-mile radius of that location.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I that because that was an actual business, I was able to to find that location and then just 50-mile radius of that location. So
Okay. And just people 30 and up, you didn't like say
yeah.
interested in art or?
No, yeah. And then I went through and interested in, on that stuff, and then went through and interested in art and photography and, gallery. I mean, you just got to really go through and search anything that has to do with that in a Facebook ad and then select
Interior
it.
designers, don't ever forget about
Okay,
interior.
so this is the down that my sob story to this whole thing. I sent emails to every interior designer in Utah that I could find off of Google searching them. I'm not talking a blanket email. I mean, I did. It was a blanket email, but I blank copied them, so they thought they were getting it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And with the pictures and everything, not one of them showed up. So, but I'm gonna try next time too. Keep trying, because it was a little bit of short notice. I mean, it was only like a 2-week notice out, because this lady contacted me, wanted to see my work, so I threw it together really quick. So the next 3
from the time you made the decision,
to the time I did was like 2 weeks.
Wow.
In fact, I think it was, yeah.
But people do short term. I mean, people, like for me, I sell tours and stuff, and it's like always the last minute I have to say, hey, is anybody going to sign up for this? And they all sign up. It's like,
well, that was what's
why
surprising.
couldn't you sign up last week?
I thought nobody was going to show up. I said to my wife, well, I know she's going to show up and buy something, because she's already really wants to buy my work.
Yeah.
So, and she did, but she brought friends, and then a lot of other people showed up. So the next thing that I did, with her, the first step with her was I said, take pictures with your phone of these spaces you want these pictures. So she did. And then I took that image, Photoshop, took the picture she was looking at, interested, dropped them in there, sized them right, changed, made them, if it was angled shot, angled it in the scale, and send it back. I mean, and there was already art hanging on the walls, so I just basically covered it up on top of it, so that I knew the basic scale of how big it was. And she loved that. I was able to say, well, here's what this would look like on that wall. Just like, I mean, get competent at Photoshop and doing that stuff.
And by the way, they have all kinds of apps that do that now.
They do now. Yeah.
You do it in Photoshop. You can do that too.
Yeah. For something like that. But yeah, they do now have apps that I'm looking to find one that I can attach to my website, where they can literally well, you can't really snag the pictures off my website. I've got it set to where you can't, where you can't right click on them. But
well, they do have plugins though. I'm not familiar with a lot of them, but they have plugins. The one guy who's got the best website, I'm trying to think of his name, Craig Dietrich. I'm gonna have to put it in the show notes. I can't remember his website, but you can take any picture and plug it in, upload your picture. He's got some kind of plug-in where you can do that. Yeah,
he's from Jupiter, Florida.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. I just pulled him up on my computer. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it in a long time, but he had a plug-in in there that you could do that. And I think Art Storefronts does that. I mean, there are plugins that do that, where they can just take, and put it in their own living room.
Art Storefronts does have that. I really looked into using them. In fact, I talked with my previous web developer about doing something like that. And that, I mean, it's ingenious, because you can just, from that person's website, take that picture, hold it up to your wall, and it'll show you what it looks like.
Yeah. I used for a long time, when I was doing mostly portrait photography, we used Pro Select, and that was a very expensive software. I quit once Lightroom came off. I didn't need it anymore, but that was the one feature I missed, because I would have them give me a picture of their their
Uh-huh.
house, wherever, and put the picture right on. Because you know what? Visualization, people aren't good at visualization. That's why when
No,
they
they're
see the
not.
stuff in person, it sells better. I
Yep.
love that pop-up idea. And I just want to share another idea. And I feel really bad because I cannot remember who did this. It was somebody I interviewed in the last few months, but she had kind of a pop-up at her own house, and she
Uh-huh.
started doing them once a month, where she'd have, just like you did, but she has it
Yeah.
in her own house. So she would just invite her customers and,
Yeah, to
other
come.
collectors and people like that.
Yeah.
And they were small gatherings, which actually puts more pressure on people to buy.
Well,
So she would
what
have
did we
maybe 6 to 10 people, not like
Yeah.
a big group, but almost, at least half the people would buy something.
Yeah.
And that,
You remember the days before the internet, the Tupperware parties, all the
yeah,
various and there were people doing art parties back then where they would come and show you art in your home. They would have these art parties from painters, different painters and stuff. I bought a print like that for my dad years ago from something like that at somebody's house.
but I think that, this pop-up idea you have is brilliant, because you're right. These people who are on these, I would do it if
What
somebody wanted to do it at my studio. I would do it in a
you know
heartbeat. I could take my stuff down, put your stuff. If
you
somebody
know
gave
what
me,
gave me
they could give me $100, I would do it for a day.
yeah what really gave me the idea was
Maybe 150.
these yeah, what's that?
I said maybe 150.
Yeah. What really gave me the idea were these Halloween stores that they move into those vacant buildings during Halloween and then they're out. That's what gave me the idea.
But the hard
Find
part,
a small space. Yeah,
the hard part is getting the people there. How do you get the people there? So you did Facebook
yeah,
ads targeting 50-mile radius.
yeah.
And what did the ad say?
You've got to keep it simple and sweet. If it's got too full of information, people just start to gloss over it. Just a couple pictures and artist, photography pop-up gallery one day, from 3 to 5 in Draper. They can click on the link and it would take them to the, show them more information on the website.
I love this.
So
I'm running out of paper to write on. That is just such a brilliant idea. So,
I think all told, I spent between renting the space and the ad probably $500.
okay.
You know,
And how many
um,
people actually came in? About.
probably 10 or 15,
And it was a
which doesn't
Saturday night.
that for 3 hours doesn't sound like a lot, but a Saturday evening in a 3 hour period to have 10, 15 people come in and, look around and talk to you, you know,
How
is
much
quite a
money?
bit.
Can
And
I ask you how much money you made?
a couple grand, you
Wow.
know. So
So it was a lot of work, but for
uh,
$2,000 less than 500 or so.
it's
But the
funny.
second time it won't cost you as much money, because,
Uh,
or will it?
well, it
Oh
will
yeah, I guess for the ad.
to rent the spot to run an ad. The funny thing about it, to set up my tent and the walls in a tent to do an art show, really, and to hang that much work takes about 8 hours. We didn't hang as much work as we did in an art show. We just made it look like a gallery, one piece on each wall, maybe two, like a 40 by 60 and then a 30 by 45 that were separated by a couple feet. And so it only took us 4 hours to set up. I'm talking, all the signs hung, everything's ready to go, set up. So that's not that big of a deal if you're used to doing art shows and you're setting up out in the hot summer sun and you got to set up your tent and there.
Yeah, air conditioning.
Yeah, it was an air conditioning. Yeah.
Oh, that is so brilliant. Now you said okay, so I'm going to move on from that, unless you have anything else about the pop-up.
No.
Okay, so let's move back to this lady who found you on was that from a Google ad, do you think? I mean, because it didn't come up on
I
Facebook, it came up on,
well, okay, so my theory is, and I don't know how right I am on this, but if you run Google ads, you're more likely to show up on the search engines, period. They, you know,
I, 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 I believe that's probably true, even though they would never
yeah,
admit it.
yeah. And so, I mean, I'm running a Google ad campaign right now that's a summer sale for 50% off on canvas prints, which is kind of crazy, but you know, I've got a bunch of stuff that I mean, stuff that if they wanted to order something, I have in stock, you know, from not doing art shows,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, that
yeah.
I'd moved. But I really think that if you run ads on Google, they will stick you higher up in the rank. Part of whole search engine optimization is getting yourself higher in the ranks, and that a lot of it has to do with people visiting your website. So they're clicking on a link that takes to your website. That will move you up, and running ads helps with that, because that makes, I mean, it's people, oh, they click on it and it's right to your website. So um, it's kind of strange. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm not an expert by any means, but from what I've gathered just by watching what other people are doing and experiencing myself, that helps. That's how she found me, because I asked her, and she said she just searched for Utah wildlife or Utah landscape photographers, and that I popped up pretty high up there. You know, I mean, if you're past the second page in a search, they're probably not going to find you. And
Not
so
unless they're
search
really
yourself.
looking for you.
Yeah, search yourself and figure and you know, and see where you pop up. You can
Yeah, but
do it
that's not,
incognito.
you know what? They're not honest about that. If I search myself, I pop up on the first page.
Do it incognito.
Oh, how do you do that
So
again?
so on Google, if you're using Chrome,
Uh-huh.
you can click on the very top right. There's these four little buttons that pop down on the very top right underneath the X for to close the window, and right under that you can see new incognito window.
Okay, good.
And
Okay, so
just
go into incognito, search for yourself, see where you show up under different keywords that you think your people
yeah.
might be searching for. So how do you do a Google ad? Like, can you walk us through it?
Yeah, that's been a learning experience too.
I know a lot more
um,
about Facebook ads than Google ads.
so I found, so doing a Google ad, you can just like go to Google, you know, say create, and I'm trying to remember how I've done it now. One of the things I found, the biggest thing, let me open my Google Ads page and just look at it so I can remember.
Now, have you ever used the Google ad help? Because I mean, they'll have somebody call you and help you. Have you
I
ever done
haven't
that?
used that yet, but I ended up contacting them over the, you know, just sent over the internet and asking them.
And I think they're pretty helpful. You know, I mean, their
They
job is
were,
to
oh
sell
yeah,
you, but they still help you try to save money, like to make, because they want you to get
yeah,
results.
they
If you get
they
results, you'll keep
responded
doing it.
back. They responded back really quick. Um, Let me find that email really quick. And I can't remember the terminology all of a sudden. You know how we're getting older and things just don't work right upstairs. So I didn't have my ad set on expert mode. And so I built this little ad saying what I wanted it to say, and then I noticed it wasn't putting it, when I found my ad, it wasn't what I had said, it wasn't what I built. And I contacted them, and she said, go in and change it to expert mode. Once you do that, you can't switch back. But expert mode gave me it gives you a lot more options of building it, and it was a smart ad, is what she called it. So you know, if you don't switch to expert mode, it's just a smart ad, and it will use your keywords and just make this ad from your keywords, which wasn't exactly what I was kind of looking for. Yeah, does that make any sense?
Not really, but my whole advice on that is call them and have them walk you
Yeah,
through it. Because, you know, I'm
yeah,
not a technical person. I hate trying to figure technical stuff out. And so they're just so good about helping you. It's not like Facebook
yeah.
where there's nobody at Facebook who will ever help you. Google will help
No,
you. So, all right, so what did you put in the ad? Same type of thing that you did with the pop-up thing? Like a couple of pictures or just one picture?
You can, on a Google ad, you can attach pictures to it, which I did, but they typically, I mean, a standard Google ad doesn't show pictures. It just is script. But then I basically, I'm trying to look at it right now. Basically, I just, 50% off canvas prints, fine art photography, and then the code, use code, 50% or 50 off canvas. And then that's the main thing. And then under they give you different lines you can fill in for more stuff, but and they give you so many, characters, so many, like letters you can use. Keeping it simple is always best. People don't want to sit there and read a bunch of stuff.
So you didn't put anything about Utah photographer in that one?
No, it just says fine art photography by Thomas W. Mitchell, landscape, wildlife, abstract, just some, but
she
more of
still found you by searching for Utah photographer.
Most of it's in the keywords that you put in, but they'll limit you. They limit you to Google Ads will limit you to so many keywords. But you can. What I did is after it ran for a bit, I saw what you can look and see what people were looking for, and then I went and added those or changed them to the things people are searching for. It shows you when you go into it. They've changed it recently. They've changed how it looks a little. Their whole dashboard screen. Actually, it's probably because I switched it to the expert mode. But you can look and see what people are, what they're looking for.
And you know what? I can't remember what that's called because it's been a long time since I messed in Google. But if you call them, they'll say,
yeah.
Hey, how do I know what keywords to put in there? They'll say, well, here's this tool. It used to be called like Google AdWord tool or something like that. I think they changed the name, but you could just say, I'm a Utah landscape photographer, and they'll give you all these different suggestions.
Yeah.
It's a really cool tool.
Yeah. I put in fine art photography, large prints, art gallery, art sales, landscape, wildlife, home decor, some stuff like that. Just things that, so when people search, if they search home decor, it's going to pop up.
Yeah.
I mean, we get in this thought of, well, I'm a fine art photographer. That's what I'm selling. But people think something to hang in my house.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to think about what they're searching for, because you don't know what somebody's budget is. One lady might think a home decor is something that, she's only going to shop at Walmart, and the other lady's only going to shop at the high-end places,
Exactly.
You don't know. So, that's awesome. I think that's good. I mean, I think the Google ads are a great idea. How much are you spending on them?
I've been, since they killed the art show circuit, is when I decided to start running ads. And I know people are going to go, holy crap, but if you've been working the art show circuit and expecting to spend the amount of money it takes to put into art shows, I've spent about $1,000 so far between Facebook and Google ads.
But that's over how much time?
Over 3 months.
Okay.
So that's not that much.
So you're saying $300 a month, basically, but that includes the pop-up ads, right?
Yeah.
The ads for that pop-up show?
Yes, it does actually. Yeah. Uh-huh. So
we know you made that money back. So let's take that money out of the thing. But as far as you got one customer so far, right? That you know for sure.
No, actually, I've had others too. Yeah, so that's the one that just, I finally got her print done and hung it up at her house yesterday.
She's in your mind.
Which the older I, yeah, I've had other people buying like I said, I sell puzzles. I ran a campaign just for puzzles because when COVID really got hitting, when everybody was shut down, I mean, like when, for instance, Utah and Wyoming, less populated states did not get affected like Florida has. But when Utah shut down, and my wife works for the state, she wasn't going to work. She was working from home. People weren't going out. There was no toilet paper anywhere. You remember. I started running ads for my puzzles because people were sitting at home, and I sold a lot of puzzles.
You're right. People were buying. I keep seeing people on
Yeah.
Facebook. I completed this puzzle.
Yes.
You are so good at marketing.
Well, I saw people posting stuff on Facebook. I just built, like you said, I just put this puzzle together, and there's somebody else locally that he's an artist, a painter named Eric Dowdle, that does folk art, and his number one thing is puzzles. And one of the local news channels did a spotlight on him and how big his puzzle sales went up. And I'm like, I'm on this. So watch what other people are doing.
That's great advice. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but so I'm gonna ask a couple more quick questions. Where do you get the puzzles done? Because you do your own shipping and everything, right?
I ship everything myself.
Yeah, you don't do the print on demand stuff.
No,
Okay,
no,
so where are you getting the puzzles done?
So I found a place out of the UK, actually. They ended up opening an office in Canada, and that makes my puzzles. Alan's gonna love a plug, if I can remember.
I can always put it in the show notes too. Understandphotography.com.
It's Puzzles Unlimited, and they have been spectacular to work with. I know a lot of photographers. I have heard people interview say they feel they're so glad that they never had to stoop to selling puzzles. I'm kind of like, whatever, because that guy,
I need to make money.
That guy Eric Dowdle, the folk artist that does paintings of various towns across the country, has his own TV show. Okay, where it's on BYU TV, which has gotten pretty popular. A lot of people know about some of the shows off of there now, like Studio A, which is a comedy show. And he's got his own TV show, and his number one source of income is his puzzles. So he makes them himself. He has his own presses and everything now. I know somebody that used to work for him as a teenager, so I've kind of got an inside storyline on him. But yeah, Puzzles Unlimited, they're really good to work with because you don't have to buy 1,000 puzzles of one image. They let you you have to order 64 puzzles, but it's split between 4 images. So you're getting, I can't remember the math right now, but it's like 12 puzzles of each image or something like that. Yeah, 12 times 4 is 6. Anyway, yeah, I can't, my mind's going down a bit. But yeah, so you
got a marketing mind.
Yeah, so you end up with with whatever it is, 10 to 14 puzzles of 4 different images, and they ship them to you. They're made in Thailand, but they come in a nice box with the pictures on it and everything, and they ship them to you. I mean, literally, from the time I place the order to the time I get them in my hands is less than 2 weeks.
And how much do you sell a puzzle for?
So that's the tough thing, is really being able to make a good amount of money on puzzles. But so they're about $12 a puzzle cost, so I'm selling them for 24. If you go much higher than that, people aren't going to buy them.
Yeah, puzzles, because they use them once and then they're done, kind of, right?
No, not really. My wife has so many puzzles we've picked up over the years, and every year in January she'll set tables up, our art show tables and stuff, up all over our family room, and to have like 8 puzzles going, and it takes her 3 months to finish them all.
Oh my God.
I know quite a few people who do that.
Oh my God, I wish I'm kind of sorry we started with your niche stuff.
That's all right.
Because this is so fascinating, and I think people are really going to like this. I might have to bump this show ahead because I was going to put it on later, because I think I told you, I don't think I told the audience that because it is becoming really difficult for me because I'm all alone, I don't have any employees anymore. I'm going to go to every other week with the Understand Photography show. So we got to wrap it up. So, all right. So what we have learned today, first of all, we talked about your niche and that you need to get your website to look better, or not better, but just
having more of the trees, people looking for trees, seeing that's what he does. And then there's this other stuff. Yeah.
And then we
It's
talked.
it's always a work in progress. Your website's always going to be a work in progress.
So true. And then we talked about your pop-up show, which is so brilliant. And we could all do that. We could also join together with other photographers and do joint shows.
I want to do that. I want to see if I can find a bigger space and have a bigger gallery and do it for a longer time and get like 2 or 3 other local photographers that I know to join in. There's one here that I know personally. We're not friends, but I know him personally. We're friendly. We don't hang out, but he's really popular right now. I'm going to give him a plug. His name is Ryan Smith. He's a local Utah photographer. And I'm going to, if I can get this to work out, I'm going to see if he wants to go in on that and we just rent a bigger space and do something like that.
Because then you're both, you just want to make sure that you're going to partner up with people who are going to market as hard as you are.
Well, he is an expert in marketing. He's got a degree in sales and marketing. He is the marketing king. And that's kind of why I want to team up with him, because people will show up to see his work and then they'll see mine too.
And then the other thing is you want to make sure their work's not too similar to yours.
Right. No, his stuff is very different than mine enough that, so
that's a great idea. What I started doing was this consignment shop. Well, I haven't started yet, but I'm going to start. That's, somebody came in because I just started selling stuff. I was selling stuff out of my house, I'm like, I have all this junk. I'm just going to start selling stuff, right?
Yeah.
I sold one of my computers, we used to do this show live. I've got this big streaming computer.
Yeah.
Anyway, a fellow photographer who I know came by to buy my hummingbird feeders because I never even put anything in there. And she's
those poor hummingbirds.
I love them, but it's hard to get them here. And it's really hot here. And hummingbird, we have them, but anyway, I never succeeded. So I had 3 hummingbirds, and they're so cute. They're glass, So anyway, she came to buy them, and she's the one who told me about the consignment shop. And I was like, I knew about that consignment shop too, because it's very high end and a lot of interior designers shop there. And so looking for unique things. So, so we got the pop-up thing. We got doing maybe consignment stuff. Also partnering up. Also, we talked about Facebook ads and Google ads, and they are a little different. So if you're not going to be doing the pop-up, the Google ads are probably better. If you're doing the pop-up, the Facebook ads let you target people so specifically.
I'll tell you something. I'm doing a Facebook ad right now. I took a photograph in Yellowstone. While everybody else has been afraid to go out, I've been going places nobody's going. And Yellowstone was pretty void of people when I went up there. There were people at some of the bigger springs, and so you had wearing a mask. But I walked around Mammoth Hot Springs, and found and took this shot that looks like it's from a helicopter or a drone. I'm just looking like 3 feet down onto the spring with these little dead trees that are about this tall. And I can't figure out what to name it. It's a really neat shot. I don't have it on my website yet because I need a title. So I'm running an ad. I put a picture of it with a picture of it in a frame and me holding the frame on Facebook, and I'm running an ad, help me name this picture. And I'm getting tons of people giving me suggestions, and in doing so, they finding out who I am, and and stuff. So,
that's just brilliant. You got a great.
And I'm getting so many good names. I'm like, crap, I don't know which one to choose. But I'm letting it run for like 2 weeks, So
And now, are you collecting their name addresses somehow, email addresses?
When I figure out who I'm going to give it to, I'll contact them. I'll message them on Facebook,
But are you
and
losing
just say, hey,
all those people?
Well, no, on Facebook, because they're just commenting on it. They're just commenting on it, so you can't collect any of that information. You
got to figure out a way. You got to figure out a way to say, hey, thanks for everybody who commented. Join my email list, and I will give you.
I'm going to, I'm going to say, go to my website and sign up for my email list.
Yeah. So, all right,
So,
Tom, I want to keep talking, but we're really out of time.
yeah.
Our last show was too long too. I looked up, it was like an hour and 20 minutes, you know, because I usually am good about, but we had talked about so many good things last time.
Yeah.
So you'll have to come back. You'll have to be like
Yes.
one of the regulars.
I hope so.
All right, Tom, thank you so much for spending your Saturday with me.
Oh, thank you, Peggy. I've just been sitting here editing pictures in my studio.
Yeah, I got to go listen to some of your music too.
Uh,
Check out
well,
Tom's website. Well,
so here's where I've been. Here's my workstation. So I've got my little soundboard here and my laptop and my desktop and my speakers and, my music room, bongos and congas over there, my drum set, guitars. I'm kind of like I don't know, a weirdo when it comes to stuff, but
you got stuff. So, all right. So tell us your art website is what?
I made it simple. My name, Tomas, Tomas W Mitchell, photography.com, will find it, or just Tomas W Mitchell, but the actual URL is just twmitchell.com.
twmitchell.com.
I've got other URLs too, but they all funnel to that twmitchell.com.
twmitchell.com, and again, I'll put it on understandphotography.com. Anyway, all right. Well, thanks again for being on the show, and
yeah, thank you so much, Peggy.
wow, I love talking to Thomas Mitchell. He's just got a great brain, and he's a go-getter. He's doing it. If you want to sell your artwork, that's what you got to do. You got to figure out how to do it, and you got to work. You can't just passively think people are just going to show up and buy all your work. So thank you for joining us on the Understand Photography Show. Remember, I'm going to put show notes up at understandphotography.com. I'm Peggy Farren. I'll see you in 2 weeks.